Today is March 1st, 2015, and it's been a few days since I last made a video clip, and that is mostly because there have been several court things that have come up. As I explained in one of my prior videos, I had a baby, and am having to deal with the government again over it. And they supposedly don't like my video clips and my talking about them or writing about them, but it really doesn't make a difference. It doesn't have anything to do at all with reality, because they've used that as their excuse for a long time. And I've been saying the same things for a very long time. I've made the same reports. I've made the reports public. I have there's just nothing that it doesn't have anything to do with my blogging or writing about things, except possibly that that when I am in the middle of writing things, possibly it stirs a few individuals up to be angry in the moment. But as to the content of what I write about and talk about, there's nothing new that I'm adding except for some of the recent rapes of me, which I have been explaining are government coordinated. I don't think it's very hard to figure out that it's not possible for these certain individuals to not be connected, and when you know that they're connected to government, you know it's not possible to believe that it's not government. So I think the only thing that's really new that I'm adding to anything that I've said in the past is that I'm sort of exposing the sons of the fathers who were originally involved in all this abuse that I first described about me and my family. And as to why the government takes my children away, they like to say that they always bring up some sort of a free speech infringement idea, as if I'm supposed to think, you know, the real target here is that they're infringing on my right to free speech because they have threatened me not to talk about things or write about things. When in reality, it doesn't have anything to do with that. If they really cared about my my blogging and writing, they wouldn't have been threatening me and promising me that they were going to kidnap my baby, and any baby I had, when I was about 10 years old and 11 years old, before I even had children. So, you know, for a large number of government individuals to be threatening me when I was that young, and repeatedly reminding me in groups and also with certain individuals, and sometimes just in pairs, like it might be a couple of men that would come up to me and say that, or women. For them to do that to me repeatedly a few years before I even had my first baby makes it pretty clear, without any doubt, beyond clear and convincing rationale, this government and these individuals and employees have been determined to steal my babies from me, and I was not blogging or writing about them or talking publicly to a large audience or potentially large audience at all then. I mean, I did try to run away, I did try to escape, and I did attempt to make some various reports, and I was always getting beat up and punished. So my parents getting beat up and punished too. I know one time someone gave me some documentation, and it was pretty good documentation. It was about MKUltra, and it was a very it wasn't just like a document that said your records have been destroyed. It was a little more than that, and someone had somehow obtained it. You know, it wasn't that much, but I mean, as a kid, or remembering how much as a kid, I'm not quite sure, but it was kind of like a folder or file, like this. There was about this much paper that I was given. You know, it wasn't like a huge stack I was carrying around, but it was this certain amount of paper in a folder, maybe a manila envelope. I am not quite sure how I got my hands on it, but it was given to me, and it was records of some really horrendous things that had been done to me and my family. And so I was really excited about it because it was official. It had official stamps on it and everything. And I was pretty young. I was only like 8 or 9 years old. I was young for someone to have been giving me that kind of information. And here's one of the surprising things. I never knew who was on our side or who the enemy was. Even though different people were torturing me and everything, there were a lot of people that pretended to be my parents' friends. And they weren't my parents' friends. And, but believe me, my parents would get together with them, laugh their heads off, hang out, play pinochle forever, and watch movies, go camping. You know, everything that you could do to make a kid think that they're visiting me in the hospital, you know, my family and them. You know, the really close family friends, because they're visiting me in the hospital. And so you think, as a kid, these are my parents' best friends. The truth is that, okay, these are my parents' wards, like in a jail, who seem to be doing a grand job of Stockholm syndrome and, you know, guarding my parents and everything that happened with my family. Because, and I say that because this stack of documents, well, I was given this material, and I was talking to my parents about it excitedly, and then all of a sudden, okay, Jim Sandberg, this is the guy that, you know, is supposedly my parents' good friend, and Shirley Sandberg and my mom are supposedly best friends. Well, I can tell you one thing: they're not. And I remember one time my mom crying, and I thought she was upset and crying because she felt what she told me was, I think, a lie. She told me she kind of felt left out because she thought Shirley was her friend, is what she said. But she was hanging out with this Sharon woman all the time, Sharon McGuire, over in Moses Lake. And the truth is, the McGuires were FBI. And so when my mom was taking off to meet Shirley and Sharon, she was coming back not looking too good and not feeling very happy. And whenever she took off and had to leave and visit them, I had a horrible feeling. I always wondered as a kid, what in the world are they doing to my mom over there? Because I knew something bad was happening. And I didn't know what, but I had a really bad feeling. So my mom would play it off, you know, she would just pretend like everything was fine and it was her problem, you know, not theirs. But anyway, so, and the other problem is that the Sandbergs had a daughter, Annette, who's adopted, and who knows who her real biological parents are, because, you know, she definitely decided to climb the political chain and made it into Virginia and D.C. as the head of some transportation thing. And she was chief of police in Washington. They really didn't like the fact that I talked about her either, but you know what? She asked for it because she was part of that family, and she chose to manhandle me when I was a kid and to abuse her authority as a cop. And, you know, the more authority she got, the meaner she got. She really did get mean. And maybe she was always mean and I didn't know it. But as time went on, she either felt more comfortable showing this because she thought there was even more power and more people against my family, so she felt more in charge, or she thought she was climbing the ladder, so she felt that she was in charge. I really don't know, but she got mean, at least to my face, and she could have been mean before then. And she was doing things like, you know, I would tell her a report or something, and she would mock me and make sure that I knew that she wasn't going to do anything about this report about something very serious. Okay, so anyway, that's one of their kids. And there are others. Well, Jim Sandberg is the father. You know, Shirley Sandberg is her mom. And then Jim Sandberg's the dad. And so I had this stack of information. Jim Sandberg somehow showed up. I kind of thought it was sort of weird, because I thought, why is Jim Sandberg just walking into our house like on cue? Like, how did he know that I was talking about this information or whatever? And why is he just suddenly walking in right now? But I didn't actually feel suspicious of him at all. I thought the timing was strange, so I was kind of surprised. But I was surprised at first in a happy way, because I thought, oh, we have to show this to Jim. So without asking my parents or saying anything, I said, Jim, look. And I said, maybe you can give this to Annette, and she can help us. So anyway, he looked at the information. I'm pretty sure he looked at it, and then he grabbed it. I actually have to retract that, because I'm not quite sure if he just came into the house and grabbed the material out of my hand like he'd been listening in. And so I was shocked about that, because I thought, oh, hi, Jim, you know, like I was going to say hi and have a friendly greeting. Not quite sure if that's what happened, or if I tried to show him and then he took the documents. But he took this entire stack of stuff, and he looked furious. He was looking at it and he looked furious, and he said something about like violation of something or other. And there was no violation, though. Nobody was doing anything wrong. But he was mad that I had seen some documentation, and that I had some, and I said, we can basically go to court. And he yelled and said something like, no, you can't. He said, you're not going anywhere, and grabbed these papers. And there was too much for him to crumple up. But he took it with him, and the way he took it with him, I knew that he was doing something bad with it, because he was saying some really nasty things, and he looked violent, and had wrenched it out of my hands and was screaming at me, and then screaming at my parents, like they were to blame, and my parents were acting really scared of him. And I suddenly realized, oh my gosh, okay, and like I think he hit my dad, and I saw my dad cringe, and I thought, oh, this looks like Jim hits my dad, has hit him before. And all of a sudden, this, you know, friend that we had in the family, I suddenly realized he looks totally like the enemy who's come out of his shell. And I'm seeing him for like how he really is, and his real relationship to my family. And so then he took off, and then after that, everybody tried to pretend like nothing had ever happened. But how can you forget something like that? And I started crying, because it was really good documentation that we had, and I was thinking that it could actually help my family. And this family friend just came out of nowhere and took everything. Wasn't a friend at all, just stole it right out from under us. And so anyway, when I say that, you know, that it's an excuse for this government to say that they're taking my kids away because I won't shut up, it's an excuse, because I wasn't really talking that much. I had no one to be able to get my voice out to, or my message out to anyway. And they were already making promises, really nasty, horrible promises, to kidnap my kids no matter what. So with each kidnapping, they've tried to make it into like, well, if you had only quit writing, or if you'd only quit making video clips, then people wouldn't be saying these things about you. And trying to say that I made myself sound crazy because I was doing that. But I don't think so. I think a lot of people in the country know that I'm not crazy.